Well, Stephen, welcome to Birmingham. How are
Thank you
you
very
settling
much.
in?
It's great. I
Yeah.
mean, this is my office, so yeah, it's fantastic. It's probably better than I thought. It's always been a dream to work in sport, and the opportunity of what's happening here is amazing.
Absolutely. Chief Commercial Officer. Have I
It's
got that right?
correct. Yep.
That is a pretty big
For new
title
revenue
for new
streams.
revenue
Yep.
streams. Break that down for us.
So obviously, I think traditional football clubs have operated in the same way, and I think what's happening here under the stewardship of Jeremy and Knighthead, they're looking to do things differently, and I think they've done an incredible job with sort of match day, corporate hospitality, ticketing. But I think when you look at what the opportunity is, what's happening with the city and the club, for us to buy better players, there needs to be new revenue streams that get created, and I think the opportunity to do that with what's happening here is exciting. So my job is to look at those new revenue streams, to look at things that haven't been done before. What can we do differently, and how can we bring in those new revenue streams to allow us to buy the better players to get to the Premiership?
So you bring in a lot of experience. You said always a dream to work in sport. That
Yeah.
experience that you've had before has been outside of sport. Places like Meta, of course, Facebook's when you started out.
Yep.
How important is it to bring that external experience into a football club?
I think the best organisations, whether it's sport, Meta, have a broad cross section of people from different backgrounds, different experiences. So obviously you still need people that obviously have worked in football, but you also need different people who bring different thinking and to challenge the norm. And I think through those elements of existing and the new, that's the best way for any leadership, whether it's Birmingham City, Meta, Toyota. So I think it's great that the leadership here, what Jeremy's assembled, we're all very different. We've come from different backgrounds. We've got a huge heritage of people here that's worked in sport. So it's great, and that's sort of, to me, the best way of sort of moving forward and creating a point of difference.
I think it's probably a very easy question to answer when we're sat here looking out over the pitch. But what about Birmingham excites you?
Oh, look, I think, I left Meta to explore, what I wanted to do, and spoke to quite a few organisations based in sport. And I think what excited me about here is firstly the brand. But Birmingham is a huge city, probably a bit of a sleeping giant. As Tom said, from a city it's probably been underinvested in. And then obviously you look what Knighthead have done in terms of buying the club, but also looking at the land in Birmingham and the regeneration, the sports quarter. And then you look at the club itself, the players they brought in, the manager, the director of football, the new staff here. So sort of all in one, it's one of those things, it's probably a moment in time that doesn't happen at many football clubs. So it was actually probably quite an easy decision when Jeremy spoke to me and said, would I like to come on board? Because I don't think that there is an organisation or a club in England that's doing what's happening in Birmingham as a city, but also as a football club. The sort of the two come together, which is unique.
And it's really exciting as well for fans as well who live in the local area. When that news dropped about the sports quarter and the way that the ownership group are investing, not just in the club, but the city as well. I think anyone that loves sport, who's grown up here in England, knows how intrinsically linked football clubs are to the community. And it's something that the ownership group have established straight away.
Yeah, and I think it's super important with anything, looking at not just the fan base, but the community on the wider scale, and looking at, the next generation of football fans. It's not about me or that. It's, what will the children of tomorrow be liking? And I think here you walk around the whole city and there's an excitement, and you can just feel it wherever you go about what's happening here, what's happening in the city. And it's sort of, on match day, it's staggering that the roof stays on with the excitement. I mean, our first game was incredible. I mean, the atmosphere was hard to put into words. So I think, that excitement has spread, not just here at St Andrews, but to the whole city, and even further afield, with what's happening, on the Amazon documentary. It's now having a much wider mass appeal.
And it's a club that obviously, with all of that in mind, is a very attractive prospect for people who want to join as partners. And I suppose it's about picking the right ones that fit and align with the vision of the club.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it's very easy to get distracted and just think, let's look at the first thing that happens. But I think, you look at the sort of the short, medium and long-term vision of what Knighthead have laid out. And I think it's super important. We have this ambition and vision and dream to be in the Premiership, to make the most money of any championship club, to compete with the parachute clubs from a revenue standpoint. And I think it's up to us to sort of be stewards of what brands are correct for Birmingham, but also, what value can we bring, those brands, but also to the consumers, and those consumers being the fans that, spend their money every day on a match ticket. So I think it's really important what we sort of look at over the next sort of 1, 3 and 5 years. And
something that I assume as well, that there's differences between the men's team, but also a really well-established women's team here, which brings different opportunities to speak to and encourage brands that may be looking at something different with that audience.
Yeah, and it's critical, and I think to us it makes our job as marketeers a lot easier, because the appeal of brands, different age groups, different genders, that it's a pretty powerful, when you're just purely looking at a brand, and I see this as a brand. The appeal now is sort of very broad, but also, very important to those brands that want to reach male, female, kids, and the wider group. So yeah, super important and great to have that for us as a marketing team.
And exciting as well. I know it's something that we've spoken about around the club as something that's on the men's side as well as the women's, but this idea of individuals coming through as well, and it not just being just the badge and the brand. We've got players who have certain personalities and want to showcase that, and that's something that, particularly when you speak about a younger audience, is something that is growing and is more important in football.
It's up to our job to create content, because if we can create great content and give that to our partners, then our partners can share that content and obviously bring value to their own brand, but also we bring value to ours. And I think, like you mentioned, you've now got individuals from all parts of the globe.
Yeah.
So whether we're just, appealing to people and content in England, we've now got players from the Far East, we've got undefeated on the front of our shirts from America. So you've got a really broad base now for content, which is super important, because on a global scale, this is what brands are looking for, and how do consumers engage with those players and the content that they drive, as well as the club. So yeah, super important.
You've hit the ground running is very clear, and I'm sure there's lots that you want to talk about that you can't yet speak about. But what is the ambition for, of course you said it's a plan that stretches wider than the next 12 months, but particularly for the next 12 months for the club?
Well, I think my job, with the word commercial in the title, Tom and Jeremy have been very clear. We want to make the most money and provide the greatest revenue sort of stream out of any championship club outside of the 3 parachute payment clubs. That's the first aim. And then the second aim is to compete on a revenue basis with those 3 clubs to create the most amount of money, but also to bring value to the partners. How are we looking at, what are we doing? Are those strategic partnerships different from the last 10 years? How are we utilising the ground? Can we use the ground for different things apart from just playing football? And obviously brands are being really creative now, especially on social media, on how they're engaging with current fans, new fans. So I think it's up to us to sort of look at all those elements and what is the right way for us to bring those into the club, but also they represent Birmingham. So without talking about specific projects, there's lots of different things that we haven't been doing before that we're exploring that brands are getting very excited about, and also I'd imagine that the fans here are as well.
Well, exactly. It's not just the brands, it's stuff that is, as much as we break down your title, of course, something that the fans may feel quite detached from, it is intrinsically linked to them as well.
Yeah, and also, when you're looking at the community and community-based ideas, a lot of these brands want to inherently touch the community first, rather than just getting their logo out there, whether it be on a shirt or a board. They're looking at things that actually bring value to the community, and thus getting the community involved, and then community sharing those ideas. So again, it's up to us to look at those ideas and to try and look at what's not been done before. Because there is a certain way of doing things that a lot of football clubs follow, but we've got incredible I suppose, support from the owners, you know, an incredible sort of length of rope from our bosses here on to do things that haven't been done before and to look at things that are doing differently.
Amazing.
No, it's great.
The future seems very bright indeed, and certainly something that I'm sure the fans can get behind and get very excited about. Stephen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your time.